Now, in college, you play 30 seconds, which means that the guys who come out of college are not ready for the NBA. You see that he cannot produce, again, high intensity, you can let him go. For practice, this is how you use the technology not for don't. You use the technology to know what is the situation at that moment with your athlete. More technology, less what? Less injuries, right, guys?
Yeah.
So how come everybody complain that they have so much injuries? In America, they didn't understand how come LeBron James got injured and muscle injury. And how many times Novak Djokovic, okay, a guy that was over a $500 million, yeah, how many times he finished the tournament 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning?
Welcome to the Awareness Podcast. In today's episode, we had a chance to speak with Avraham Kowalski. Avi, as he likes to be called, has more than 40 years of experience in the performance aspect of sports. Starting off with Maccabi Tel Aviv in Israel, being one of the biggest teams in Israel Basketball League, and working all the way up with athletes like Milos Raonic in different sports like tennis, basketball, handball. So if I could just summarize this podcast episode in one word, is everything. And what I mean by everything is in this podcast, you'll find everything that you need to know to be able to train at a high level. Yes, everything. This is not an overstatement. We talked about how data is being misused nowadays and how a lot of us are becoming slaves of it instead of utilizing it to give us context on how to train and how to actually train to perform, not training to look good or not training to be impressive, but training to perform in your sport. This is the main topic of the podcast and is the main topic that every athlete should be focusing on if you want to, let's again, perform well at your sport. Training to perform. For every athlete, this podcast is a must watch. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to a new episode of the Awareness Podcast. Today, we're here with our guest, Avraham Kowalski. Thank you very much for being with us, and introduce yourself to the people.
Thank you for having me. And I'm very glad to share my knowledge after how many years? I'm now 66 years old. So I started my professional with the top basketball team. It was in 1987. I don't know if you were born at that time.
I wasn't even in the plans.
Yeah, but your parents already were dating. No, I'm not sure.
No, not even.
Okay, but it's a pleasure to have, especially with the different generations. And if somebody after this podcast will take one or two ideas, it will be great. I spread my legacy, and I think that the younger generation have to start to listen more and pay attention more, to I would say, my generation, because we were at the end of the era of, the Eastern ideas, which mean about the periodization. And, periodization, to take it even for today, people a little bit misunderstand. The periodization was based on cycles of drug, of intake, because
Really?
and people don't understand, and they try to implement it to our days. I'm not saying that periodization, the idea behind it, is not good, but you have to make adjustments. I wish, as I took good things from the old days and I implement more ideas into my system, to my knowledge, and I combine it, I think that you are improving. And now the big advantage that your generation have is that you have more technology, but with that comes also a little bit. It's making a little bit problems, and we should start to talk. And this podcast is about the connections. And I'll give you one of the things that I always say. Training is like the Olympic flag, and you see the five continents that are connected together. It's not the training is not, one system, another system, the third system. Now I'm emphasizing on one thing. Everything is connecting to each other. Once you work, let's say, give an example, you work on the aerobic part, you also, there are other systems that are involved, or during the time that you are working. It all depends at what time of the year, at what time of your program, and what you have to emphasize. But you don't disconnect one thing and work on it, and you think that you will improve, because you have to sustain and maintain the other things. When you need it, you will be able to withdraw it.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So now, okay. Sorry. Yes.
No, you're good, Avi. I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying. Which one of the best, like the moment in which we're going through, let's say for the specific individual, somebody else in the past has done it before. So looking at the past will give you a lot of answers. So I truly agree with that idea that you mentioned. And I want,
yes. One thing that people have to know in this podcast, in my my experience, I have a broad of people, a broad of experience. I was in the past a tennis player, and I received a scholarship in the United States. Then I received also in college. I didn't play, but I received sports to train. And this way I was doing my master's degree. And most of my time I was involved with the top basketball team in Israel. It's called Maccabi Tel Aviv. I have in my career 11 Final Fours, four European championship. So also I have in my under my training program people who came from the NBA, people that I developed and then became legit players in the NBA. I was the first Israeli to bring. The first Israeli to the NBA. His name was Omri Kaspi. And I took him from age of 14. I was in Maccabi Tel Aviv. I was what we call today head of athletic performance. So I work also with youth. It's not just that I worked with top professional basketball or top professional tennis players. I work with a guy like the name of Marat Safin, who took Australian Open in the 2002, something like that. And I worked with Milos Raonic, which was top Canadian. I worked with the top Israeli that his highest ranking was number 10 in the world. His name is Amos Manso. So I have a broad of experience with different disciplines, and I can share it with the audience, because each one, or each program, or each person, each team has a different schedule, and just to let to the people who hear this podcast, one of the toughest sports is tennis. Not in terms of the demand, the energy demand, which is obvious, because they play in a different time of the day, and they play the best of 5 in the Grand Slams. But the major problem with the tennis players, especially the professional wise, I don't know if you know, they travel around the world twice in a year. So imagine how many times they pass time zones. Right now, you see that I'm playing Indian Wales, which is far in the western of America. Now they move back to Miami, which is 2 to 3 hours time zones different. Three, okay, thank you. And they'll finish with the American tour. They move back to Europe to play clay. I'm not talking about changing surfaces, changing weather. And don't forget that in the mid of December, they were starting to prepare in Australia. So which means from September till the end of March, they have been now far east and moving to far west, and then they start to move back to Europe, which they'll have two majors that they are looking, one in clay, which is Roland Garros, and they'll finish up. The highlights is Wimbledon. When they finish with Wimbledon, they move again to America to play the circuit, Canada, Cincinnati, and by the end of September will be the American U.S. Open, and then they'll finish up where? In China. So it's again, and in China you have two masters.
Yeah.
So they're going, and this is something that you have to be adjusted and to have a plan, a different type of plan, to put it and to emphasize into your program.
Definitely.
So when I just want to add, because most of the people that probably will hear it, it's your generation. It's and you mentioned it, that the major problem that I see, the major thing that I see, that people forgot that the energy system of the body didn't change. Okay, nothing changed. You have the aerobic, anaerobic, you have the neuromuscular, you have the kinetic chain, you have the strength and power. Nothing changed. The laws of physics didn't change at all, which means the action reaction, all Newton's law didn't change. Nature didn't change. In sport, the one of the things that you have to overcome is what? Is gravity. You have to overcome gravity, and you have to use gravity. You have to use gravity to your advantage, and you have to use the ground in order to create more force and to move. And I see that the young kids have a tendency keep the basic of movement, because what I see today, and that's what we talk in the pre-conversation, that a lot of young athletes are literate in movement. They don't jump enough.
Yeah.
They don't do, and look, you have, and now it comes to another problem. In my generation, physiology, biomechanics, athletic performance influenced the fitness world. Okay? Now it's vice versa. You have all kind of gurus that they didn't major in college. They do some courses, they get certification, they get hooked with somebody that is famous, or they are very good in sales, and they have a lot of hits on the internet, okay, on YouTube, Instagram, and they become gurus. But when you take the blanket, you see that there is nothing behind it, and you see that the training is based on what? To make the person fatigue. You don't go to train in order to make him fatigue. Yes, there will be some high intensity workout, okay, that the person, what will happen at the end? That he'll be tired. But is it correct to do it at that time, at that particular time of the season, at that particular time in the microcycle? Absolutely yes. Now look at another difference. People start to talk about the performance. That they ask me, "Are you in the industry?" I'm not in the fitness industry. I'm coaching. It's my profession. I have to look. I have a relationship with a player. I have to look at him. I have to see what is lacking in his movement. I have to see how he's in terms of his mental. Which, and I'm not a psychologist. Okay, I'm not tending to be a psychologist, but I can see that he's having a problem. I see how his awareness. Okay, and that's like I can know that if he can perform good, I can come and say according to the program we need to do X, and he comes and I cannot get nothing out of him. And what I'll reduce, I'll try to bypass. That's what it come to a conclusion. Less, a lot of times, not most of the time, is more. Where we talk about the industry is based on what? On marketing, on getting paid by the hour. And I tell you, you come to the fitness room, weight room, yeah? I ask you, I sign an informed consent that I'm healthy, and you give me a program, right? Do this, do that. I pay X amount of dollars, euros, or yen, or whatever. He doesn't care what I did before. He doesn't care what are my capabilities. So, as a coach, if you are coaches, it's a profession. You have to know where you start, where you want to bring the athlete at the end of the journey. Okay, so you know how to implement the physicality into the type of sport that is involved. If it's individual in tennis, you know that not in each tournament it can be in top conditioning. In basketball, you know that you have certain amount of games, and you know sometimes it's twice a week, sometimes you have back to back. So it's a total different. You have to make a small adjustment in the program. Now it comes another thing that you have to take into situation. How many minutes is playing? If it's a guy that is in the beginning and is in a developing stage, it's a totally different program than a legit player or a veteran player. It's a totally different. And now we have to emphasize on the legit player and the main players of the team. Now you have to take another consideration. You know that in the program that you might have a guy that is injury prone or a guy that came out of injury. Okay, you have to treat him totally different. So within a group, if you are in a team of basketball or soccer, within the group, you have different program, different micro program to each player.
Yeah.
Now, even and now I'm coming to think that look at what I'm talking about, narratives and trends. Okay, and you start to learn. Okay, in the past year or almost a year and a half, it became a new trend in the NBA, right? Post game, what? Strength training. Guys, to who? Yeah, I said a post game training is to the guy that didn't play at least 20 minutes, okay, because he didn't get stimulation at that day. Yes, to a person who didn't play at all, so he needs to train. Maybe he'll train in the morning if he's not in the squad. But a guy that we know that he's going to play above 30 minutes, 38, 40 minutes. If you ask me why you don't look at the old days of Michael Jordan, what was good for him in Chicago, yeah, they used to do strength training before. Now, when you do before, it stimulates you and you get you ready. You are not coming tired. Get you ready to the game. You modify. You are not going heavy, but you go small repetitions with a little bit higher weight, or you go small repetition according to the force velocity curve. So you work on maximum force in a maximum speed, and it's part of your warm up to the game. So what you see all of a sudden, it was a big boom. It was a big boom. In the last year, people in Europe start to do it, especially especially after a big win. You see all the guys, because they have high energy, high adrenaline. Big win. So they go and they show that they are working out of contest. This is out of contest. And now people say, how come they are injured? Why not the following day, when they are coming and they're doing a recovery to stimulate that for the recovery? Or why not to wait another day, and then before the practice have a heavy one? If you cannot today do a mid to heavy, a 24-hour before a game workout, you don't belong. So now we come to one of the. If you have a questions, you want to say something.
You're providing so much value, Avi. No worries.
You can interrupt.
Of course.
So now let's come back. So now one thing, let's come back. So what we see, okay? What we see right now, and please don't get wrong. I'm not against technology. I was, when I was the first one to use technology on my teams through cameras, testing, and everything, okay? Because in my generation, to implement weight room, it was something, fitness room, it was something big, But what happened is today, what you see, that it's very easy to lean on the numbers. Numbers is something that is a single. It's something that show you that the person is doing X amount of sprints, okay? But it's not just sprints. In basketball, you have how many sprints you do above 80 kilometers per hour, 18, 20 kilometers per hour, okay? How many meters? I'm sorry that I'm in the metric, okay, guys? So let's say, I think that 20 kilometers per hour is one. It's around 14 miles. Okay,
Yes,
even
sounds
okay.
pretty accurate. Yeah.
So how many meters you do? So if you know this data, train the person in the preseason. I know that it's shortening, but even at the beginning of the season, use the program, whatever you can, to do heavier work. So today you see that more and more athletes are you watching them. They come today to the locker room. They have one program, right? How many hours you slept? Okay. What did you eat? Now, what is your well-being? Okay, he's tired. So, but sometimes you have to perform when you are tired. You have to be ready. I'm not about sleep deprivation. By the way, just to let the people know, if you have one time sleep deprivation, it doesn't decrease your performance if you go. So now I'm coming back to the tennis player. How many times Novak Djokovic, okay, a guy that worth over a $500 million. Yeah, how many times he finished the tournament 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
Is he in jet lag? Absolutely, because what time he'll go to sleep? Tell me, guys. What time? If he'll fall asleep before 6 o'clock a.m., 7 o'clock, we all make a standing ovation. At 2 o'clock, yes. So now, please let in the audience all the nutritionists to raise, to get up and tell me. He is, by the way, is not vegetarian. Is no, what is above vegetarian?
Vegan?
Vegan. Thanks. Okay, you bring it up. Thank you very much. He's vegan, so he'll eat. You provide him a full meal, absolutely. But if I'm not vegan, if I want to eat, if I want to eat chicken or if I want to eat fish at 3 o'clock in the morning, please do. You need to do replenishment immediately. You cannot wait, because if you go to sleep 6 o'clock, you'll wake up 1. You have to train the next day, recovery, because if it's in Grand Slam, you have to perform the following day. You have 1 day off. You cannot have a bed rest. So everything changed. So it comes down to a position that today the top athletes have to be like a fast food adjustment. You have to be adjusted to everything, so it won't ruin. You cannot be nitty-gritty like a track and fielder that he knows that he has a certain meet. You know at what time he's performing. Same thing in biking, in other sports. You have to be adjusted. In the NBA, even according to the program, one time you play at noon time, especially in the weekends, because they want to bring. This is when marketing and commercial comes, because they want to have a family show, so kids can come. And one time you play 9 o'clock in the evening. So this is why all the team they travel private. And they don't have to wear suits anymore. So you see how things just change. In my generation, Michael Jordan and everybody has to wear suit and tie. And tell you a little story.
Yeah.
There was a player for Maccabi that got signed in Miami Heat. He's an Estonian. His name is Martin Muerset. Okay, the guy was crazy. The guy was crazy, and I trained him, and he told me that he's going to Miami Heat. I said, okay, fine. So the following year, he contacted me and he said, I got $3,000 fine. So I said, what did you do now? He said, when I got into the plane and I put my leg up and the pants were coming up, they saw that my socks were basketball socks. And he didn't wear suit socks. So
Really?
look, yeah, seriously. So you see how things change. So what do I mean? I have a question which I don't solve. You have so many technology, so much information. Most of the information gives you, on one motion. It doesn't give a kinetic of everything what happened. Okay. How come? And everybody talk in medical terms. What do I mean? We're talking about prevention. We are talking about rehabilitation. Rehabilitation is after injury, but most of the time it's prevention. And most of the time we diagnose them. So how come with all this program, it has to be correlation that more technology, less what? Less injuries, right, guys?
Yeah.
So how come everybody complain that they have so much injuries? And you see also that the injuries, one of the major injuries that we have a decline in age is Achilles tendon. In my time, Achilles tendon was well known above 30, greater than 30, because you had years of performance, and the body were you have a more tear. And today you see young guys. You see more and more young guys in young generation that they are not ready. Okay, they are not ready to the game demand. They are not ready to the ear play program. And you see more and more hamstring, quad. I'm not talking about ACL, and I'm not talking about meniscus, and I'm talking about non-contact. Talking about non-contact. Even with all the jumps and stop, guys, every time that you do the stop and a strong stop, you don't finish that when you train, you don't finish with it. You have to do some motion out of it. Okay,
Mm,
okay, I get boxed out. Fine, you push, you play. Okay, now jump, move, cut, make skips, because it's a multiple. I call it. It's a multiple motion. You know, like a mice on a
yeah,
roller. Although you have whistling, but
yeah,
try to think that if you get ready to this situation, that you make a strong stop, you stable, and you have to make and to react after that. Where because you train what you train your brain at the end.
brain.
You don't train muscles. Hey
Mm-hmm.
guys, listen. Muscle is a stupid organ.
Organ.
Yeah, without what? Without the nervous system, without blood, without enzymes, doesn't contract. Okay, if you and we eat it, right? What we eat muscle. Okay, we eat part. So it's a stupid organ. So at the end, although we train uh, the nervous system. We train the heart and lung, okay, system. But this is how we get more. This is how we can and be ready to the demand of the game, and not just to demand of one bout, also to recover quick and to
Mm-hmm.
make the next move, because this is the difference of top athletes and somebody that is not trained. You know, somebody that is well trained under in sub maximal
Mm-hmm.
work, he does less work than untrained. But in maximal work, he makes more. You got me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Avi, I
My
have a
yes,
question. What you're meaning there is that because you're talking about you want to make sure that when your body comes to a hard stop, it's ready to move again, right? Because the
sure,
body has
sure.
the sport has this
Yes, he
continuous
knows already. He implant the motions, and he
okay.
is ready. You familiarize with situation that might appear in the game.
And how do you do
Okay,
this, let's say in the training room or in the normal day-to-day training to adapt the
it,
body for that?
okay. So okay, what I do usually with this situation, when I implant, so at least twice a week, if you have a program of a team that play twice a week, or you go twice a week to the weight room, or you do body weight, or you do P-bend work, or you do med ball, body weight with something, that you overload. So once you are done, let's take and I like to work in a small circuit in order to time consuming, because in my program, the strength and the strength training is before the actual training. You start, and especially you start after a day off, and usually 48 hours before a game,
Mm-hmm.
or a day before. And if you cannot, you do something modified before the game. Okay, like if you usually do 5 sets, you can do 2 to 3. Less exercises. Always in my program, and I'll come. Always in my program, you have. Let's assume you must implant unilateral work. So if I do a squat press with a P-bend, okay, and also in my program, it's a complex like powerlifting. The things that I adjusted, okay. People have to understand, okay, when you work with an athlete that he is in a game, any game board, you don't make him a power lifter. I care less if he does squats 100 kilo, and I'm sure that according to the program, he'll come after a few a month or something, he'll do 105 or 110. This is not the purpose of training. Not at all. I care less. because I'm not making him, he's not a power lifter. Same thing as a track and fielder. I want my athlete to be the best 100 dash runner. I want my athlete to be high jumper. I want my athlete to be the best triple jumper, because in basketball you have the Yugoslav step, you have the side step, okay, all those that are with a lot of sheer force on the joint. I implemented in the program, so I try to put the amount of weight that is correct for the athletes in order to improve what is necessary for the game. So guys, just let you know, in order to come for 1 RM, it's take 0.8 seconds, okay, to maximal force.
Okay.
All ball games, what is the time that you are working? 0.2 to 0.5. So why to work in a maximum? Why not to use the curve of the force velocity and put all the time amount of weight that is enough to trigger? Because at the end, I'm sure that if he'll do 1 RM, he will improve. Now, to come back to your question, so if let's assume I do dumbbells. Okay, I do dumbbells, squat, clean, press. Okay, or I do squat to sideways lunge to clean press. Okay. After this, when he is done, and he is going to do, let's assume now I want a little bit to trigger chest, he does chest press. Okay. Immediately after he finished these 2 exercises, he has a conversion to an athletic movement. Okay, so let's take the squat to sideways lunge or slide lunge. Okay, so he can do skip sideways, get to a stop, and slide to the opposite direction. You follow me?
Yeah.
Now listen, you have to work in 2 dimensions. When I do side stop, he's stopping on what? On the leading foot. If I stop on the leading foot, I move to the opposite direction. So it's imitate that he has to make the stomp strong one and the gut cut of him and make a change of direction.
Yeah.
This is control. Now I can tell him, do skip, stop sideways, but on the trail one. And now what? He'll continue to do the slide to the same direction. This is second option. So he convert the strength and power into quick motion, fire up. But you can make another thing, and this is how you protect your hamstring. And I tell you how. You do now the side, okay, and you tell him to stop on the leading foot. But what happened? The guy make on him a cut, and instead of going to this direction, he's making crossover and go again to the same direction. So you make him to do skip, stop, and go. You follow me?
Yeah. You want to replicate as much as possible what they're going to do on the court, right?
Especially with the conversion. And the guy understands it, that this is what will happen.
Yeah.
So I use the weight room to put, and I come back to what I said before, that I don't want to make him the best sprinter, right? Now, he's not track and fielder. I use the movement of track and fielders, right? Track and fielders you see today that they do biking, high skip, right? But they do it in one dimension. They do it south, north. Sometimes they emphasize to go backwards in order to trigger the glute, right? But don't forget, it's a multitask, multi-dimension, multi-movement. So when we train, if he does squat, press, he does the same thing forward. So he can do the skips, stop, and cut, right? He goes skip backwards, and he can sprint forward. Because what happened? You go back defense, you stop because it was a turnover, boom, you fly back. So you use what is on the court with a higher tempo, with a good formation, guys. Because what happened, as I said at the beginning, that a lot of athletes are lacking in movement, they're
Literacy.
literate, in literacy. They don't know their hands in on the side, okay? They are moving, especially kids that they run fast, what they want to show you that they have a lot of, that they have a lot of demand, right? So they move their head side to side. And what we want our player to be more efficient. If he is efficient and he does everything in high speed correctly, less energy demand, so he can produce more.
Yeah.
Now, this is also how you bring in the back door conditioning. Okay, you get him ready to the up tempo, because if he does it in the strength like 30 times to 10 meters, those things you implant, you don't have to do on the court. Nothing. You don't have to add up, that they stop the practice and now you do 10 sprints. No, you used it in the weight room. And now the basketball coach can emphasize everything basketball wise. Okay, so I can talk to the coach and I can tell him, okay, it's not an up tempo practice, they're not aggressive enough. And this is one thing that people have to understand. You are part of the team. If you don't come to a level that you are an assistant coach, not basketball wise, you go around the court, you can have your technology, and you can see that somebody is dropping intensity, you can pull him out, let him recover, try again, and if you see that he cannot produce again high intensity, you can let him go. For practice, this is how you use the technology, not for don't. You use the technology to know what is the situation at that moment with your athlete. And the major problem that the GPS technology took over. And what happened? They rape the program. And they come to the coach. Today, we should not practice hard. Why? If that's the time to work hard, start. And why I say, if you plan to have 30 minutes hard work in soccer, or you have 20 minutes at least in basketball, and you see that the team are dropping, you come to the coach and you said today, because training is based on what? On duration, frequency, and intensity. And you improve the best in intensity. So why not, if they are tired and they can work in the same level for 10 minutes, you stimulate, earn a practice instead of what? Going to recovery. You didn't ruin the guy.
Okay. So not necessarily stopping training, but
Nothing.
reducing the
You
time
can
at a high.
stimulate. You can go for about 4 minutes, 5 minutes recovery, because recovery, you can take the time of long timeout. Long timeout, it's usually come up to 3 minutes. So it come out to what? It come out to you come out to the same program. You can work with this situation. You can trigger so-called the Norwegian training that is 4 minutes, 3 minutes, right? So you can do it 4 times. But in basketball, because there is contact and there is a shear, and because this program is based for bikers, but you can use it. You can have 2 times, 4 or 5, 3-minute rest, half game. You played one full quarter with high intensity. You trigger it. The people got stimulation. The people got what you want, and you didn't overload for the amount of time that they can sustain it. And then you continue with the program.
Definitely.
But it can come to a point that the people really fatigue, that you have to reduce. You don't have to come to this situation. If you come to this situation, which means that you did something wrong.
I see.
You understand?
So as you, what you're saying is, because I mean, we see this all the time. Like and we may use data to then go to our house and analyze that data instead of using it at the moment, which is, as you were
Absolutely.
mentioning, what we should be doing.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
then, as you mentioned, that maybe if they're tired, you still
I want to ask you, you see that during the practice that you overload too much, but you finish the practice. So now you come to the coach the next day.
yeah.
I learned that seriously. I tell you, sometimes, when you talk, this is how I got connected. One of the guys, one of the best coaches in Europe, his name is Pini Gershon, that he has 3 titles. He's in the same class of Obradovic, and Obradovic is the first one, but same class, like with Messina and all the great coaches in Europe,
Basketball
So
coach, we're talking.
basketball.
Yeah.
And he came to me, and I came to him after the game, and I told him about a player that just arrived. It was a new contract. He came from a different team, so he was well conditioned. And I come to him and I said to him, because he was not used to our system, which our system was up tempo, and this is another thing that we'll talk immediately, and you have to memorize me if I forget, because you have to fit the program according to the philosophy of the coach. Okay, in a second, and we'll talk about what I told you about LeBron.
Definitely.
I came to him after the game and I told him, at third quarter you should have taken him out. He was fatigued, and you remember. So he said to me, "Listen, young guy, you say perfect things. What I can take it from that it was our mistake." No, I said it's my mistake. So he told me, "What I can take it to the next game? Zero, because next game might be that with the time that he was, on the court and off the court, nothing." So he told me, "You are an assistant coach, and you can come and whisper in my ear, he's tired, and I'll make the decision." So I said, and it was something new to me. Okay, it was at 2000.
Okay. Yeah.
You have to understand, you are now 26 years ago.
Yeah.
Totally different situation, how you look upon a coach. And I said to him, "You sure?" He said, "Yeah." So he almost knocked me out, because he told me, "I'm sure that you won't jump like a monkey behind me, do this. You'll come when it's really, you see by the eye that he's not running, he's not coming as a trailer. You have to observe. This is what I told you. It's a profession. If you don't have the sense of your player, if you don't see that something is going, they are hurt. A lot of times, I used to come to the coach and tell him, "Look, his foot is awkward, attack," and the next day you notice that they brought an injured player to play and they try to hide it. Okay, you have to observe your player. You have to observe the opponent. You have to because you see him day to day. His kinetic chain. And you see if he's limping. You see if he's carrying his foot. You see that he has a back problem. Everything it's pop out. It's pop up. This is your sense. This is your like an artist.
Yeah.
Because this is where you have to specialize.
Yeah.
And this is where I come. You remember I said that I don't want to make them lifters, because I use the movement of snatch. I use the movement of jumping over hurdles, the action reaction, the knee drive in athleticism, in order to improve the performance of my player. Because people, I'm not dumb. You cannot be in full formation. You can be in full formation just from a different stance, and then you go 3 meters, 5 meters, and then you have to cut, and you have a defender on you. This is without the ball. A lot of times you have the ball. So the running and the efficient, but you are quick with the ball.
Yeah.
Okay, but you know that you have to bend your knees, not too much, to a degree where you can create the most force that you can create. Okay, out of your position.
Yeah.
So you use all. It's called the queen of the athletes is the track and field, and you
Mhm.
have the heavy athletics, right? But I use the powerlifting. I use the clean. If you do the clean, okay, and you go into a drop, what it is? It's like to getting into when you come strong. Boom! You have to come into a catch and shoot. So
Yeah.
you don't come with the straight legs, because if you come with the straight leg, you have to bend and shoot. This way you bend and shoot. You cut out the time. You don't have today time. If you don't catch and shoot and get ready, you have already five fingers on your face.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. No,
So
definitely. And I mean I really like that approach of relating what you're doing in the gym, always keeping that goal on mind that you want them to perform good at their sport.
so
You don't
always,
want them to do an an RM or anything. You want them to perform well at the sport.
yes. Look, I'm testing. I'm testing at the beginning of the season when they are coming. First of all, to see if they don't have any. First of all, you have questionnaire. You take also from the team that they came from. All the data. So they pass. Usually, if you talk, they pass stress test, but full with oxygen consumption. I like the protocol of speed protocol, not Bruce, because athletes cannot tolerate, 12% incline,
Mhm.
which means I put them in a 1.5, 2%. They start 10 kilometers per hour, which is 6, and every minute they go 1 minute. Big men usually reach 16 kilometers per hour, 17,
Yeah.
and top point guard reach 19, 20 kilometers per hour.
Okay.
Okay, in maximal uptake.
Yeah.
So with that, I take the anaerobic threshold ventilatory. Okay, so if somebody has to train to reduce weight or to improve because he's lacking in his aerobic capacity, so I implement a program within the program, which means that at least twice a week I'll prefer, and I told you I prefer basketball players to go on the bike instead of running a long distance outside, because of the demand of the game that increased in terms of the force and the speed of the game. And by the way, over here we'll take a little break and I'll tell you how the game changed. Okay, when I was in Maccabi Tel Aviv, Europe used to play 30 seconds. Now in college you play 30 seconds, which means that the guys who come out of college are not ready for the NBA.
Okay. 30 seconds.
30-second possession.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You got it? You
Yeah.
agree
Yeah.
with me? Okay.
Yeah.
So we used to play in Europe also 30 seconds. So at the year that the European League tried to change to 24, the all preseason, because movement is habits. So we used to practice with a clock watch.
Yeah.
And you want to play up tempo, we used to tell the guys, I used to count, or the assistant coach, 21, 22, 23. If they don't pass the half court, okay, because we want to start the drill early, turnover immediately. So what we see now look how you use the data. We won the European Championship. We saw that the highest percentage is from 0 to 8 seconds, which means either you steal, you take a rebound, and you throw the ball, push the ball forward, and you make easy basket layup.
Mhm.
Okay. The second top percentage was 16 to 24 when we use the whole clock. The less amount, because what happened, the team is now ready in the defense, they can play man to man, and they force you to make under pressure, under clock pressure, the shot. Now, when you play in practice 16, 18 seconds, what do you get, guys? From the back door, without notice.
When you play 16, 18 seconds,
you are more conditioned.
yeah,
You have more possessions. So
Yeah.
you have to know when to take the break. Now, when you face a team that usually go 16-24, what will happen to them? After 3 quarters, they drop the intensity
I see.
all the time. And now we come, in order to make a little story, so the people, and it's right, in America, they didn't understand how come LeBron James got injured at the first year and got few times injured and muscle injury. And they said, look, he is working professionally, and no doubt that he is top athletes outside the court. So there is no question, no doubt. So a guy, I'm not sure if he was a data analyst, but I'm more sure that he's mathematician.
Okay.
Why? Because people look time is something that is valid in order to see is a load. So when he won the championship in Cleveland, he was averaging 42 minutes. Right? Now, when he came to LA, he was averaging 35 minutes. So they say, how come he's injured? Now what he did, he went and checked out how much possessions they played in Cleveland and how much possessions he played in LA as a team. So he found out that as a team they played around 92 possessions, so they were playing. If you came out that he played in a game 77 and a half possessions.
Mm-hmm.
Now he went the same thing for LA. They played above 100, close to 110 possession. But now what? Played the same amount, 77 and a half possession, which means the amount of the possessions that he played the same amount, 77 times, 7 possessions. But he played one in a shorter time, which means it was an up-tempo game, which he was not ready. He was conditioned to a team to play in a certain situation.
Yeah.
So it's come back to all the people that are hearing us that you have to know what is the philosophy of your coach, and you have to also to train and practice with the ball, and to train and practice down in the weight room, because the weight room a lot of times stays what is in the weight room. You have to bring the things that will help you. Okay, it's not just lifting iron.
Yeah.
You have to do things that will help you to improve your movement, to improve your capabilities on the court. So if you are not trained as you play, this is what brings the injury, the most injuries.
Definitely.
And if you don't make the cuts, you don't make the stops. Look, a lot of guys don't make single leg stop. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
They make it with athleticism, the hop up stop. No, you have to make the stop as strong as possible, like you're hitting a javelin that falls stuck on the floor, like you're playing darts. Try it once. When you stop on one leg, you'll see how your glute is getting tight, and sometimes so injuries with the hamstring in two situations, and people don't understand it. When you are acting to explode, also in a deceleration, in a quick deceleration to a full stop and to go out. This is also when you get tears.
Definitely.
Look, I'll give you a small anecdote also. It's coming up now. it's thing that probably written in the medical books, medical article, because it's very very rare. I used to work with the Israeli top national top team in European handball, 7-on-7. People in America, it's not familiar. Okay, it's a league that is more has more spectators in Germany, US, German, no, and usually the top teams is France, Germany, Sweden, Norwegian, and also now you see, if I'm not mistaken, Egypt in Africa, also teams. So he was a player that came from. He played professional, and he was in his early 30s. He tore two sides hamstring. It's something that you never. He was making a pistol, to explode,
Yeah.
to go to fast break. Tear one, make a fall, make the stop. When he made the stop on the opposite foot, he tore it again. It's terrible because you cannot walk, and he had to do both. Yeah, he had to do surgery, and he was in bed rest. I think over a month.
Imagine.
It's very rare that you see that you tear both hamstrings.
Yeah.
So guys, you have to make the impulse what as close as possible what you see in training.
It is.
And I'm not the guy who said to go 50 years ago, because listen, I just want to ask myself a question. Okay, if you have to go and work in the heat, what do? You go to work in the heat and to acclimatize, right?
Mhm.
If you know that you go to today, you don't train altitude. Today you do opposite. You live in altitude and train low, because if you train in altitude, you reduce your the intensity of work. And so what you see in bikers, they do the good work, in levels of 2,000, and they live higher, or 1,800, so they have less influence of the altitude, so they can have a perfect training. Okay, so they can,
Hey,
because if you go high, go down the intensity.
okay, so you wanna expose your body to that level of intensity, but by living high, you don't that shock when you go to that altitude.
By living high, you have the effect, the biology effect, with the dissociation curve. You have the effect of high altitude, but you don't reduce your workout because you live in the high altitude. You have the
Okay.
influence of the high altitude. This is why a lot of guys have an altitude room at home. The guys like Phelps
Because
used to develop.
you might be ready in terms of your oxygen uptake, but then your body is not ready if you don't train at higher intensities in those altitudes, right? Okay. I
Right.
see. I
So they
didn't know
change, because in the good old days, Russian used to train high, live high, but now you live high, you train low.
Okay, okay. So every athlete has to live now in a high zone
Or you can have an altitude room or tent.
as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
true. That's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Well, I mean, Abby, you provided us with like basically an encyclopedia on how to train. So thank God I'm recording this, because I'll definitely study it afterwards. But I just think one of the main takeaways that I got is we've gone so detached of training how we play, and we isolate the training components, as you mentioned, and
Absolutely.
we
Oh,
don't match
great,
it to the
great,
play.
great that you mentioned. Great. Okay, you like score one of the best goals ever. Okay, I tell you one. The problem I see that a lot of performance coaches
Mhm.
duplicate what he does in basketball. To add up things that you cannot emphasize.
Mhm.
If I want to get a higher jumps, so I use three hurdles. Pa pa pa. Okay. If I want to use, if I want to use stop and cut. Okay. If
Mhm.
I want to do motions, I don't duplicate. I bring stuff that are ignored, that you can lose. This way, if at the end of the season, the guy is less and equal to 5% decrease in his strength, you're one of the best. You're one of the best coaches. Even to go down to 8%. Okay, this is because you don't have to have a full session. You can have small micro training, but good ones on the right time, with the right emphasis, with the right. And don't forget, the exercise is not the goal. The exercise is something that helps you to bring it. You can do it with the squat, and I tell you, I especially love to use more dumbbells than barbell. Why? Because people are not equals perfect. So now it does. Once you do clean above 60 kilos, if you are not very good in your technique, you might hurt your wrist. If you are a volleyball player, if you are a handball player, if you are a handball player, tennis player, once you have a wrist problem and it's tendonitis and it's something that is continue for a month, just to say that you did 60 kilo, I can use dumbbells and use the exercises with a formation that you can do it correctly. It stimulates what you need, okay? And I'm taking a less chance to get injured.
Definitely.
Look,
definitely.
one of the major one of the major injuries in the NBA, and it's funny because in order to clarify it, there was a guy by the name of Francisco Gonzalez, excellent shooter. Okay, he used to do, in order to get core mobility, he did with his guy that was in charge of his program. He did the chest press with a physio ball, on a physio ball, okay? And it did huge amount of weight. Now you tell me, how much with this weight and everything, probably was something not enough air or too much air. The physio ball blown out, and he broke his hand, and so what did the NBA did first thing? Don't use anymore the physio ball. But the problem was that there was too much force. People forget, physics. How much force you put with I don't know what, 35 kilos on each side. I mean, I'm not sure about the weight. But I'm sure that he got injured with that.
Definitely.
So they negotiate and they refine him, which is correctly. But so now what you want to use the physio ball? Use it smart.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about
physio ball.
What?
You use a big physio ball or like the big?
No, he was leaning, laying on the physio ball and do it. So he had the stability, not using the physio ball. You have dumbbells in your hands. You lay down on your on your upper back, on the scapula area.
Yeah.
And he did chest press.
It's not about stopping using it. It's about knowing what really cost it.
No, the exercise that you choose, always ask yourself, does it fit the athlete's capability? Is it capable of doing it? Is it trained to do it? Likewise, does it fit to the demand of the game? One of my professors in biomechanics told me, look, have a scale. 0, it's a natural drill. 10, good drill. What do you mean a good drill? That is work on the joints, on the muscles that you want to work. less chance to be injured. Minus 10 might be a good drill, but it doesn't connect to what you do, okay, to the purpose. So I give you an example. We're all sure that squats is the ready position for all games, ready position for tennis, catch and shoot in basketball, defense and everything. But now I see a lot of guys doing the kneeling single hand press, right? Tell me which sport kneeling do this. Okay, why not to come? Same thing. Now, is it a good exercise? Yeah, it's good exercise for Joe from Connecticut that wants to do training and have a cross section and everything. But for an athlete, you can tell him, okay, come to a lunge position, make a lunge, 2 hands, press with one. Load. It's imitate layup. It's imitate. You lean on one foot and opposite side, shooting.
Yeah.
Tennis.
Yeah.
So the same exercise. Now, another thing that is important, it's a complex movement, multi-joint. It's not a single joint. It's not a single muscle. It has to be connection.
Yeah.
When you bend, you connect, and how you fire.
Definitely.
So this is and a lot of guys that coming out of school, you have everything. You have the whole knowledge. But you have to simplify. You have to go all the time, because if you know the systems, okay, aerobic goes to power, anaerobic go to endurance. You have power, muscular endurance, and now according to that, put what do you want to emphasize, or in what your athlete is lacking. Now, I try to close it, guys. When you do testing, a lot of times you player, and you mentioned it, that Jokic was 17 inches jump was the lowest, and I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Guys, even if your guy come short with a result, always the first question that you ask, okay, is this advantage or lack of capability, is it a limiting factor to his ability to perform in the game?
Yeah. So basically, not every player has to have a 23 vertical jump if he doesn't dunk in the game.
Yeah. So you get what? I don't want to use bad language. But if a guy don't dunk, so if a guy don't dunk, and he's quick and penetrate to the basket, and does everything well, he jumps 20 inches or 22. That's what will make better. No, it doesn't mean that he won't dunk anymore. So you can tell, okay, if one leg is less and you see that is over 10% in the back door. Now what happened with a lot of guys? They make shutdown, train your the disadvantaged part till it's equal. No, it's not. He's not injured.
Definitely.
You within the program, okay. Let's assume I found out in a when I check strength and power, and I check and I see that one leg is over 10% from the other foot. Okay, I implement to the program. I say, okay, when we come in, you do single leg Bulgarian, you do single leg lunge, you do step downs. Not every day, every 2 days. When we go to the weight room, add up 3 sets. months, you'll see that things equilibrium. If you didn't test, no, now you know, and it doesn't have to inhibit him from to perform.
Definitely.
It doesn't work like that, guys. You have to take chance in life.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. It's also the same example in football when you take Thomas Müller. Like he doesn't have to be. I don't know if you know Thomas Müller, but he doesn't have to be
Sure.
the fastest player on the field just to perform. But Avi, I really like the pod. We can go for 5 more hours probably because there's so much.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for having me. I enjoyed it. First of all, I met new nice guys, young generation. You know, everybody asked me how come I keep to look young, so I said, listen, I get old, and the players are in the same age, so I know their vocabulary, I know their slang.
Yeah.
I'm not as quick as they are. When they hit the computer, talk. I said, hey guys, take a breath. It's okay. I'm not that untechnologist, but each generation has its advantages, and I hope that people won't follow so-called gurus, follow science,
Yeah.
follow experience. Sometimes you say, okay, something goes wrong. I go believe in your program. Try to go as much as possible.
Yeah.
To conferences. Listen, you don't have to take everything. You said, okay, this I know I'm not gonna do. So it's also a decision. It's also part of learning.
Definitely.
Get literature. Talk. One of the things that that make me better. I used to go to track and field to watch on national coaches, whatever I was overseas, over here, look and observe. I used to go to different disciplines and look what other coaches do, and I used to take things from football, soccer, and to implement in basketball and vice versa. Okay, and this way, get better.
Definitely.
You know more what not to do, and then you'll see that everything comes out.
Of course, Avi, and people like us, young people like us, really appreciate people with experience like you willing to share all this knowledge. So again, as
Guys,
Matt said, I truly appreciate you just being willing to come here with us and just sharing all your experience, man.
no problem. If somebody wants to contact and to be advised, to ask questions,
Oh, thank you.
feel free.